Right. Well, I decided to start. What is it? It's like Sunday, 4:30, close to raid time. Got this here. First decision I'm going to make. Napoleon's forced to be here. I'm using his reduced values. Ney is, I can place him with any French troops. Well, I see two basic choices. One is, do I want to pursue an attack on the Huguenots first? Napoleon's not far from there, so he can start, he could start activating forces there relatively soon compared to sending him out here towards La Haye. But, on the other hand, if I start Ney out here, I'm not actually convinced that I'm going to be able to get my attacks over here on the Huguenot to occur quickly enough. And I'm relatively close there. So I think that's where I'm going to put good old Ney. Where? I guess in the center of it all. And we'll see if I can break those skirmishers relatively quickly. Now, Napoleon could start committing guard units right away. He's in with them, hanging out. That doesn't seem like a great idea. I'm in the French command phase. It's time for me to start selecting some units because, well, no, it isn't. How about that? How about that? Wait a minute. When do I commit? I gotta be able to commit not just on the hour. It's the hour when I pay the cost, right? Yeah. I can commit right away. Okay. So let's look at what I got here. I'm not going to pay a cost right away. I'll pay a cost here in this first turn, but I got to get moving. The Prussians are coming. The Prussians are coming. So I have... Jesus, I'm going to need my better glasses for this game, am I not? I don't know what that is. I think that's 162 and 262. I have those that I could commit. And the 192. So I'll look for those three commanders. I think all this extra map space, I got places to put my counter trays. So I pulled out the 3 brigade commanders. I'll pull the divisional commanders out. Do I have a corps commander? Probably. He should probably be on the board too. That's O'Reilly. And I'm committing 3 brigades to this. I'll put the leaders on the board. We're not going to see any cav charges. Nobody's in command, etc. And I don't think anything else happens. French rally phase, there's nothing disorganized or anything. Don't have to worry. Allied facing formation. Now I have to deal. There's 7 Allied units that are committed at this point. I can't commit any more. I know what the French have just committed. I have to make a decision up here, and you'll see I have some commanders. Now, unfortunately, here's what I don't have. I don't have everybody in the command structure on board. And this is the thing I don't get, is how you get those in-between commanders. I've just placed them on the board for the French. And I haven't just placed them on the board for the Brits, and I think I'm stuck with what I've got, but I think I can at least activate the in-between commanders that aren't on the board yet. People like the Second Corps commander. I've got parts of the Second Corps here. First Corps is here. I don't know what British second. I think it's Hill. Yeah. In play. I don't have him in play yet, but I think I can get him without any cost when it comes my turn, as long as I have someone who can command him. Now, unfortunately, I put Wellington all the way over here with his own forces, which may not be the best thing to have done. Oh, and how much do I want to defend this line up around the Hougoumont? Remember, it's worth 15 points in terms of morale. Is it victory? No, it's not. You know, this isn't. I could give that up, you know, but if I'm going to leave it unsupported, that seems like a bad choice. So let me start moving some Allied forces up to bring up support to it. We'll see what that looks like. I don't know if this is the right way to do things. I really don't. Earlier I had said, hey, look, the Brits have their own, all the armies have their own disorder markers. That's actually not true. I've got gray ones and dark purple ones for the Allies. You know, the Prussian color. I'm using the Prussian color right now. I don't know if I should or not. French have just one color, which is suitable. But yeah, I just wish they had done white for all of them. Anyway, I'm starting to try to move this 4-4 forward. Got a couple of brigades moving forward, I guess. It's hard to tell what the hell's what. These artillery shifting forward. These guys moving forward to defend this side. Another brigade moving up here, getting disordered, moving through the difficult terrain, the slopes, all that shit. I don't see any real reason to push forward any of my other units, and in fact, I kind of want to deactivate them. To not, like, I can't do that yet. I can do that at next turn during the command phases. After I take the penalty for having active units, I can start deactivating those. I don't know if I'm doing the wrong thing by moving up here, but it feels to me like a bunch of skirmishers just aren't going to be able to hold the situation at the Hougoumont. So where does that put me? That puts me to the French shock phase. There's no adjacency, so there's no problem there. The reciprocal fire. So this is interesting. I have the opportunity to shoot. Let me, odd it's Allied, even it's French. Okay. So the French get the first artillery fire options. Now, nothing's active. Wait. I did activate this, so these guys could fire. So I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 range, soft cover at skirmishers. What would be up with that? Is it worth firing my artillery at that kind of situation? So, and why do I have all of these here where I'm near, you know, I'm near the charts? Here, I'll put them on top of these other charts. I really ought to just have one over there. Okay, so I would be firing an 8.2 effectiveness gun at, what did I say the range was? 1, 2, 3, 4, medium range. Medium range artillery. 8-point gun is out here. 2 effectiveness is here against not skirmisher but soft cover. I'd have a 5 or a 6 I could hit. It's not buying that it's a good idea. And the huge artillery bombardment, which I think well, it actually couldn't happen before this turn. I guess it's supposed to happen now. I just don't see unleashing a bunch of French artillery. Nor am I actually, well, yeah, I'm allowed to because they don't have to be in command control. And they're not, yeah. So they can actually fire. I don't really see doing, a bunch of little shots at long range when I can't even assure that I'm going to be launching an assault anytime soon. So I'm not going to fire, and I believe the Allies are in the same position here. Reciprocal infantry fire, nothing's close enough, which means we hit the Allied command phase. Well, I don't want to bring any more units into command. Oh, I don't want to commit any more units. In fact, I want to deactivate units, but I can't do that yet, so screw that. Rally, no. Rally, there is an issue. Yeah. I disordered some units during my movement. Did I want to move my skirmishers? I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I'm in this kind of, wow, I got no idea how to face this. I had a really clear feeling, for whatever reason, in Ney versus Wellington, for the first time, as to, yeah, the French really have to plow forward and attack. Here, the French are under a time limit too, but there's a lot going on, and it's a lot harder to figure out. So that's their rally. And now we get to the French movement, and I'm going to swap batteries, I guess, although I still got one charging there, and start moving some of the couple of units. I put 3 brigades under command. We'll get them moving forward to try to engage those skirmishers, see what they can do. Myself wishing I had done something I'm going to allow myself to fix here, which is this 12-3 cav. I'm going to actually bring that into play too. But these are not that. This is something else. It's a pain in the ass finding your units in this game. That's these. This would be 2 more whole brigades. 1 and 2 12. That's these 2 commands. I'm going to bring one of them into play. Because back in the command phase, during the French command phase, the reason for that is in part so that I can get these sub-commanders out and move them around. But I also want to try putting an outflanking pressure with my cav going over that way. And see what I can do under those conditions, because I feel like there's room for a threat to the rear of the Allied lines, especially with them starting to march down off the ridge. What the hell, man? That's not what they're supposed to do, is it? I don't know. It doesn't feel right, but yeah. Again, I don't know Waterloo well enough, but I want to pay that. That'll let me get some of the intermediate commanders on the board so that I can move Ney and get him to do other things, and then I can move Napoleon as well. Although they're going to kind of collide, but yeah, there's not really much I can do about that in terms of overlapping ranges and like. Some more of the 3C over here. I'm moving the overall commander of that unit over, although Ney could probably affect them. I haven't shifted him yet. You'll also notice I'm just advancing right up. I'm not throwing skirmishers out or anything. What's up with that? That's against everything I'm being told by the system, you know, by the designer, etc. Why? Because I want to press hard, same as I did in Ney versus Wellington. I want to push hard. I'm just facing skirmishers. Sure, they might get some shots in, but my shots are better if I'm putting whole formations in place, and I'm also throwing something up there that can shock combat and put real pressure on this situation. We can see the only way into the Huguenot, though, is from the back. Even though there was a significant close run thing where the French almost made it through the main gate, which is to the south. It was left open. But yeah, let's do what we can about taking that key location before we look any further. Hey. Oh wait, no, it's La Haye-Saint that's important, not La Haye. Yeah. All right. Do I have other units that I can move? What's Riley here? 9-2. Yeah, this thing's available to move. All right. So with commanders like Biancard here, he's not the important one. Where's my 12th? Oh, he's 112. Where's my 12? 12-3E is here. He's going to activate this unit. This unit is 2nd Corps. I sent the 2nd Corps commander over here instead, so that cav is kind of stuck there. He's going to try to activate some more units, try to put more pressure here right away. Napoleon working his way up, Ney working his way over to try to bring more and more of the battlefield, you know, to bring more and more of the French forces into activation. But you can see with the historical scenario, you're kind of positioned so you, and obviously I could have put Ney over on this side and activated stuff here, but then Napoleon wouldn't be activating over here for a while. The line is not ready to all move. You could have gotten them ready in that 10 turns, even without, like, you know, budging into the muddy terrain and all that issue. But whatever, we'll see what we get out of it. Obviously, the Allies are not going to shock. They're not allowed to. And that puts me then to the game turn phase. So we shift this down, put some dice on there to indicate it's the beginning of a turn, and I'm going to go away for a while. All right, here we are. I guess it's Monday morning, getting on 10 a.m. I don't like these things being down here. I'm going to move them. I know. Might get confusing when the Prussians are in because their color is closer, but I'm going to move these guys over here. And clear up some space for myself. This is F4. Just to do things here. Okay, so we hit the French command phase, and I don't remember the order on this. Does it give it? This is the abbreviated sequence of play. What does the actual sequence give me? The French player must announce and execute command decisions concerning commitment of French reserve forces and or initiation of cav charges. Okay, so there's something weird that happens here, which is under the, it doesn't cover the army morale effect of having formations in place. Now, what is clear is that deactivation happens after you pay the penalty. But I'm not sure when commitment happens. Well, commitment would happen during every command phase. It doesn't give a timing here particularly. But I would say if you want to commit another brigade, at this point, you probably have to pay for it. So there might be an argument in favor of not committing brigades already. So I just think it should go against you everywhere. Like that's just the feeling that I have. How much of a hurry am I in with the French? Well, the Prussians are coming. The Prussians are coming. So I think I am going to actually commit some more units. First thoughts are, look, a big cav outflank attack here, but unsupported cav ain't going to do the job. Infantry can form into squares and then the cav is useless, right? However, the French army is stretched. Other than the guards, I don't have a lot of forces that I want to bring into play. You know, I'm not saying I want to bring the guards in. I have a little bit of 6th Corps back here, who's not on the line. If I could strip units from the line, that would be cool. Like I have so much density, but I'm thinking Huguenot. But the problem with Huguenot is it's this big, nasty, shiny object sitting in front of me that I fear that the Brits are going to be able to just bleed me dry, like the Verdun plan. Well, like Verdun actually did for the Germans, essentially. That I can't bleed the Allies dry with it, but I feel like I have to go for that. I'm kind of reticent towards pulling these cav in because I just don't think unsupported cav can do shit. So I feel like I have to clear Huguenot. It's only got skirmishers in it for right now, but that could get a lot worse. That is going to get a lot worse. But as I pull forces off the line, maybe I can get some kind of capabilities over here where the cav would be effective kind of in the middle of the field, as opposed to this kind of outflanking movement that I feel like I should be doing. But there's no terrain goal for that. The terrain goals are here and here. Not that they're huge. I'm here for the destruction of the armies. You know, the terrain goals are relatively minor comparatively. Oh, I don't know what to do, man. Like I was going to bring in these cav and these cav. I think some cav for an outflank here to harass the Allied approach is okay, but I don't think I want to bring all of this in. So I'm looking at one more brigade coming in there. I'm looking at a total of 3 new brigades that I'm bringing in this turn. And that'll be this cav unit here. These are Imperial Guards. Can't bring them in without Napoleon. But I'm also bringing in what Riley's on top of here. I want to bring 6th Corps in. Napoleon's sitting near some of 6th Corps. But I kind of want to wait until these move forward to commit. And then I can just commit the whole Corps by bringing the Corps leader in so he can go back and commit these or something along those lines. What do we got? 1, 2... No, 1, 5, 2. Actually, I kind of have to put him here to have everything in command. I haven't been paying enough attention to the command and control. and one back here. But I also have this, which I can drop in, which gives me, I don't know, a little bit more possible extension. It's really hard to keep everybody in command in this game. It is really hard, especially if those lines, if those start forming into extended lines. So I think that's what the French are paying, and now they have to pay 7 points of morale for everything that I've got committed. This is a turn where I really don't want to commit units if I can help it. If I wasn't in such a rush, I would be doing it, or I wouldn't be doing it, or French rally, but now it's time for the Allies to move. And normally movement's the big thing, but I feel like the command decisions in this are pretty damn impactful and require more discussion and thought than the tactical movement on the field, even though that's going to be important, and I'll probably fuck that up in much worse forms than I do sort of the more strategic decisions. Although, again, the decision to move the infantry up to the Huguenot, I don't know. I just can't see that skirmishers alone could have held it the way they did historically. I'm sorry, I'm giving the wrong impression there. I don't know what happened historically well enough to know whether it was essentially skirmishers that were in there or if formed units were trying to hold it. I'm assuming it was formed units. Regardless, I'm going to need reinforcements. It's just a question of whether I'm better off with skirmishers. Probably am right here. A big old stack of them would do a lot of nastiness. Impassable hexsides. So here's something I do know. The French got up on the walls, but that might be these walls to attack. And I'm not sure the impassable hexsides. I gotta see if they block line of sight. I'm assuming they do, but I'm not sure. Preliminary basis, my memory is working correctly. There's 4 different types of hexsides: soft cover, hard cover, impassable, which is what we're looking at, representing unfordable water obstacles, okay, which wouldn't block anything, or high unbroken masonry walls, which sound like they would, and then contour hexsides, fine, 10% gradient in the slope of the ground. This is, contour hexes don't actually exist in this. They're just a level change, which sort of goes against the concept of the descending terrain and stuff like that kind of ideas, which make everything sound like it's gentle slopes. If they're saying it's a 10% gradient all at once, that's beginning to make it sound more like the layer cake should apply. I'm kind of fudging around with that, but if that is actually what it is like rather steep hill, like, you know, look, I can show you. This is something you could move over. On my yard, I don't think it would cost just twice as much to go up. I've tried to walk up this as a formed unit. I feel like this is the kind of thing that would block fire, because I can move back a little bit. Now I'm way up, but and honestly, but if I were further back in my yard, I would not be able to see. There would be a shadow in the hill that I'm at. Now that's more than a 10% gradient, though. That's it's not 90, but it's at least like a 60%, probably higher than that gradient. It is creating a sort of a cliff type situation that I would say is actually probably impassable for formed units to operate on. You might convince me skirmishers could, but not at one movement point. You know, you might slide down that thing you're trying to climb up. That's one of the problems. Anyway, I think the 10% is still probably shallow enough that my arguments against the line of sight rules apply. That, you know, being back here on an upslope, I would still be able to see this hex. And I don't think I'm able to in this, the way this terrain system works. Okay, anyway, where the hell were we? Yeah, so a little later, yeah, so we got the 4 types, right? And the 4th type is the contour hexes, yeah. Hard and soft cover for brevity are often referred to as obstructed terrain hex sites. Okay. We get to what can block line of sight, and there's 3 different types of blocking terrain: elevated hexes, obstructed hexes, and occupied hexes. None of those are the impassable. Now, the impassable also, I do not believe, qualify as hard cover. I know this is a fucking wall. I know that it should provide better cover than smaller walls would. Then well, you're already getting hard cover from the building. So, okay. And that is hex determinant. All right, I'll live with it. Because, you know, there are going to be men, not necessarily on the wall, but there were like slits in the wall. I got to see pictures of it. All right. So I'll leave that alone. I'm going to say it's not blocking terrain in any way, and you got the hard cover from the buildings already, although probably should be better than normal hard cover, but it's hard to get better than normal hard cover with a 6-sided die. What am I doing? Trying to figure out how the Allies are going to move to defend the Hougoumont. If I'm defending such good terrain, it may behoove me to dissolve some of these guard units, which I believe I'm allowed to. It's like Highlanders I'm not allowed to. Completely. I'm allowed to do that here. Class 1 units. Where do we have the optional rules? Because that's going to matter. Yeah. So some of the French Imperial Guard and some of the British Highland units can't break down into skirmishers. But otherwise, Class 1 units, I can just dissolve the unit. This is painful to choose to do, because I would be getting rid of a really good unit. But I want to be able to get at least 6 in here, and probably some 6s against this hard cover here, and really fill it in with skirmishers. And I think that's actually the accurate representation of what would be happening. Again, this is where this system is designed for Waterloo in specific, not just the asymmetric sequence of play, but the fact that, look, a couple of hard spot points at Waterloo were so important. Instead of making all kind of funky rules to dissolve skirmishers just for those hard points, I actually think that skirmishers are kind of iffy if they're not in those hardened locations. But by putting them in them, you create something that is very, very powerful on defense. And I think that's what I aim to do. You see my battery's not charging. I find something clever. Like those guards, I really hate the idea of converting them. Those are potent units with high morale. Presumably, maybe not as high as a stack of skirmishers. But these lights, a little less morale, smaller units, I converted the rest of this. One had already been converted before setup, but I converted this into 5 more units. Now this is just gone. This can't be rebuilt, but I see no reason not to convert a bunch of lights into skirmishers. This has already lost 1 skirmisher, so it can't lose any more. I might end up refilling units by putting skirmishers in them. Remember, I can put 1 into this. Of course, doing so, it stays sort of a skirmisher, so it's not perfect. But I'm just struggling to get a picture of how to use this system to defend or attack the Huguenot as best as I can. It's a problem right away. This unit here, it's going to be out of command control. I'm going to throw this guy back a hex to keep all his units in command control. As I get used to the system, I won't have to cheat like that. But right now, you know, I'm looking at 2 hex command radius. Good God, what the hell? You know, he's got like 4 units under his command. How could he be a 2 hex command section? I don't know. This is 1-1. I don't know where the rest of him is. 2-1-0. Oh, good Lord. This is 1-1-1. This is, oh, this is just, yeah, this is the division? I guess. Command. Just trying to make sure. Okay, whatever. We're gonna continue, I guess. I don't know. I'm flummoxed because I'm making decisions of a type that I'm not used to having to make in a tactical game. I'm not used to breaking down entire units into skirmishers. I have to keep in mind as I'm moving, while I don't have a lot of units that are committed on the Allied side, I have to do things like make decisions as to what I'm going to commit later in this turn when the Allies get their command phase and are able, you know, to call up more reserves or whatever. Okay, I don't know how this is going to work out. We're going to lose some Dutch up here. And I can see a difference in the color. So this I think is the Hanoverian and this is the British, but it's just too faint for me to really be able to cope with. I certainly couldn't distinguish them when I did the setup. I don't know which ones were Hanoverian, which ones weren't. Don't know how big a difference it really makes. But we're going to see some flexibility there. So I'm moving a line up into place here to help defend this. I don't think this line can hold, though. I don't think these skirmishers can hold. I think we're going to be pushed through the woods here pretty quickly. We shall see. There's going to be a shock attack phase, and unless the French get, you know, repulsed by initial fire, the Dutch are just going to disintegrate. If you recall, I had Wellington way over here for some reason. He's marching his way back because I got a bunch of reserve corps units that I want to get up on this hill to replace the units that I'm throwing down to help defend Huguenot. Now, this is real iffy, but on the other hand, I'm not seeing too much of a threat, but I am giving up some defensive terrain, that high ground, and the ground that's inaccessible to artillery fire right now. But overall, I don't feel like long-range artillery fire is that big a thing. So, even though the French used it fairly heavily. And then here, I wanted to get more of an extension here, but I don't have a command to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring these parts of the First Corps up into play in there. And Orange might end up moving over here to command First Corps as well. What's kind of screwed up, so I really ought to put something of Second Corps in play, because I've got no commanders under Second Corps who are operable. I have commanders under First Corps who are, but not a lot of them. Of course, if I come under fire, you know, it activates them anyway. So, moving Wellington away from this area means I can't just sort of devote stuff to operate over there. Wellington's the only one who can command the R Corps stuff, though, so he kind of has to run around and try to do stuff. And I don't want to pay morale, right? I mean, there's no French commands anywhere near being in command over on this flank. So I say, hey, it's okay. I'm safe over there, right? I think so. I don't know. All right. That is going to put me into the French shock phase. And yes, we have some shocks. We're going to be hitting into the orchard there. Do I want to do this in detail or not, given that I've already done the details of this kind of thing in Ney versus Wellington? I guess I'll do it once at least. So what's going to happen, I declare I'm in line. Eugh. Why am I in line? I mean, I'll take less damage, but it is less effective because of the lower morale. But I think I need to shock regardless. So let's do it. So when this one shocks, 2 skirmishers get to fire. And the skirmisher will be on this rank, and there's no defensive terrain. The defensive terrain faces inward. It protects the inward. It's the way the spills work. There are some places where it spills on both sides and it's a both ways. But I am a line formation defending against this, and I'm defending against a class 1 skirmisher, which means on a 5 or a 6 he gets to hit me. Now I'm already disordered because I'm crossing obstructed terrain to attack. I'm not hit, but there's another one that gets to shoot as well. That one does hit. And now, so my strength goes down from a 5 to a 4. And I have the bonus of being able to make a morale check on that. And yeah, we're going into super detail here. His morale goes down from a 5 to a 4 because he's lost a strength point. He holds up. That means he gets to go in. So I've got 400%. Is that the bonus? My morale would be at -1. Being disrupted is another -2, so that's -3. Soft cover puts me to -4. I cannot successfully attack. Whether I'm at bonus or not, my morale is too far below even the skirmisher, which means I should not have launched this attack. And it's starting to make me feel like I should have put big stacks of skirmishers to attack those skirmishers. Again, I have no idea. Like, even though I played Ney versus Wellington recently, I have basically no idea how this was gonna play out. I'm gonna leave the problem there. But we go to the somewhere or another. The rules are kind of organized in a weird sort of fashion that I have difficulty with at times. So I said it was like a -4 differential, which really blows. You would think skirmishers would be easy to hit. They are, if they're not in that kind of protected terrain. Because I'd get that 400% and that would guarantee a route, I think. But now I have to find where the fuck. Is it under percentage? I don't think so. It's not under differential. It's not here. It's under casualties, I think. Explanation of shock results. Somewhere it tells me, yeah, when a shock is executed at a differential less than -2, the attacking units automatically suffer a DR and the defending units are unaffected. And that's the situation I've got here. I'm going to deal with it. So a DR means I am disordered. I was already disordered, so that means I'm actually routed. This is a terrible result. I should not have attacked. And I run back 1, 2, 3, disordering the unit here. And I think we learned our lesson and we're not going to attack, but marching up in line against some skirmishers in the woods, not going to work. Not going to work. Now, it may work. I may get the fire advantage, but my fire, when I get to that, and that's very shortly, I'm not going to do any more shocks, so now it's time to think about artillery. But my fire is going to be at a class 4 soft cover target. I only hit on a 1 in 6. Those skirmishers firing back at me hit twice as likely. So they are going to be difficult to get out of even what looked like something that I should just be able to plow right into. Not the case. Now I was at like -4, so being in column wouldn't have helped me. I guess I'll play out what I'm showing. I rolled the reciprocal artillery fire. The French get the first shot if they want it. I do not see any of their artillery. Oh no, here's one that's deployed. Okay, let's do this. I've got one here that's deployed. This would be at range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's think about whether we want to shoot at this column at range 7. That's the first thing. Because columns target class 1. Range 7 that's going to be maximum range artillery. I have a 6-point gun. It's on the shitty 3 table. But it still has a fair chance of doing damage. Now, I gotta check my ammo. I think I only have 6 ammo for that kind of gun because of the 3 firepower, but it may be based on the morale type. So I gotta look that up. I gotta swap batteries again, and I gotta get my TSS box out again so I have ammo markers for everybody. This decision to make numeric markers for the ammo supply was brilliant compared to what was done here. Since the 2 games were being developed at about the same time, I would have thought that that great idea would have leaked over. It didn't. But it's become one of my most useful sets of games for the extra markers that it has, that nothing else has. Now, I could use something else that looks similar. For example, I could use markers from the Central Front series, which are black with white print on them. Those would also be distinguished, but they don't run up to 8. And so here I'm going to put a 5 in there. And I can put it under the gun crew if I want. I said it was medium range, or long range, sorry, at a column, class 1 target, over, what was I, 6 guns, so I am out here, which means I get a hit on anything but a 1, and a 6 causes 2 hits. Okay, so I cause a hit. There's a leader loss check there. I think it's 5 or 6. I know that works. That will be a point of morale. And the hit is also going to be a point of morale. So the Allies lose 2 morale. I want to do that first, because if I don't remember to do it. And then we move the casualty over here. Yeah. You can see why I'm not going to do this all on video. It's pretty tedious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And we make a morale check for these Brits who were a 4, but now they're back 2, one of which was a skirmisher. So they've got a 2 morale, which means I have to walk around a little more. It's a big map. And there's a lot of different counters that need to be used. And I'll put the gray counter. I'm going to use the gray counters. I feel they're more visible. Probably on like gray units, I'll use Prussian counters just for that. Okay, so that was 1 artillery fire. Now what I'm doing, this isn't usually as well, in Ney versus Wellington, this wasn't necessary. But the French have fired that artillery. This one's not unlimbered, this one is, so this will be my next shot. And I've got another one of these markers for the Brits. Now, they have artillery on the line as well. They have one here. Effective range is out here. I don't really want to fire above effective range. It's like on the disordered chart, it's just not worth it. So this would be my only reasonable shot, is from here. And I run 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes in line against a line unit. I'm going to fire this because that's why the artillery is there. I'll be back with the results. I got 2 hits on it, which I marked over there. Put the ammo marker under there as well. And again, should have been screened by my skirmishers. There didn't look to be a threat in front of me, but artillery can develop as a threat so quickly. I'm so clumsy at this, right? Like, I'm going to get the French destroyed because this much more open terrain without a bunch of British units standing in the way of the artillery is, although I had a horrible, horrible time in Ney versus Wellington with the artillery chewing up my French, but there I was in a hurry. I'm in a hurry here too, but I don't know if I'm in this much of a hurry. So that's going to be a morale check. I need a 1 to succeed at all, which I do not, but I could have gotten bad enough that I routed, which would have affected these guys and guys I run through, you know, run by and everything. So yeah, now I forgot about this routed guy. Where was he? He was here. He would cause collateral hits because his original morale was higher. So I'm going to jump back to that. So this thing had a 5 morale, which he's fine. We ran through this. That doesn't affect anything, but these actually had to check morale. So this had a 5 morale. He's fine. And this has a 5 morale. If that's disordered, I don't fire it. That's fine. And now I'm going to unleash guns at skirmishers. That's probably not the greatest thing in the world. And again, I have to pause. This one is a class 2 gun. It again is going to just have 6 ammo. Every time I have to draw out of a bag, I have to pause. I had to draw, I had to get a lot of counters out for initial setup, and that got me a lot of the casualty counters, but I don't have a lot of the ammo counters, and I'm kind of running out of places to put them too. Key difference, I'm firing at minimum range artillery with 8 shots. That puts me way over here on this top chart. I'm in the middle column of it because I have a 2 firepower rating, but I am firing at soft cover, which means I only hit on a 5 or 6. I still think it's worth it because I got to get these guys out of the way. But that doesn't do shit. So that's the reciprocal artillery fire. I don't see any other shots that either side is going to do. We do the same for the infantry fire now. Odd, the Allies get first shot. The French do again. I don't have a lot of infantry fire. Infantry fire is basically range 1 or 2. I have a fair amount, but if I start over on this side of the line, I'm getting my most effective shots in first, okay? Because I've got a lot of range 2 shots, maybe over here. I don't know if that's cannons. I don't know what the hell's there. I think that's infantry. The range 2 shots are gonna be on this shitty column here. The sub-column might be better, but you know, it might be good or it might be bad within that. But here, this guy's too far away to shoot. These guys are all too far away to shoot, but this guy's close enough to shoot. We'll take a quick look at what that's going to look like. I've got infantry in line. This is going to be 3 rank infantry, 5 strength points. That's high quality unit, so it'll be a 1 quality unit, and it's firing at soft cover. I need a 6 to hit. You can see the complexity of the charts. I don't know how much I mind. We do not hit, so we move the little marker to the next thing that's going to fire. Or I could leave it on the last. I find it easier to move to the next, but I could see where you wouldn't want to do that in a post game. Although you could move it to the next thing that has an option to fire, and you can just shift further on if you don't want to fire. Now here, I could start at this side and I could fire this guy off, but then I'll be behind the French on all my fires. So it makes more sense for me to fire this unit over here. Now that's going to be a skirmisher, but it's maximum range, so it's just max range infantry as far as I can tell. I don't think the skirmisher, so there are some places where the rules are a little iffy. Maybe there's examples that fix it. I don't want to look them up. But max range, the other things are like column or skirmish formation. Well, I think that the max range infantry just trumps that even when you're in skirmish. This is a little better, defined, I guess. Than it was in Nate versus Wellington. So I have 1 strength point on this yucky column here. I'm firing at line. I need a 5 or a 6 to hit, no matter what the quality of my troops. I'm lucky enough to get a hit. That's going to trigger all the same effects, right? So this is a 5 strength point unit. I'm going to need a mark here, one of these. I rolled a 6. That's an ammo depletion for skirmishers. If the skirmishers are doing well, they're going to deplete ammo. Neat. So this has a 2 morale now. Why didn't I shoot the disordered guy? Yeah, that's a good question. I probably should have. He makes his check. So this stands here. I'm fucking up all over with the French. I might as well fuck up with the Brits too. Ammo depletion. I rolled a 6 on fire, which means I get an ammo depletion marker. And we have those in all kinds of different colors. Doesn't really matter what I use. My OCG says use red because it's a red unit. Sensibility says use a color that's not available there. He can't fire anymore. That's going to make him a lot worse, but maybe still not able to be dislodged due to shock combat. When do I recover that? During command phase. I'll be having a command phase relatively soon. It's the next phase in the game. Okay, so then I move this marker, and I'll put it like this to indicate the next unit I intend to fire, and then we continue down the line. And you can see there's going to be some point where they switch over, where they meet. There might be some advantages to skipping a fire in order to, it's not going to be the case for the skirmishers because no matter what, they're going to be firing on this column, on this mega column or whatever. But sometimes it's the case that it's worth skipping a shitty fire in order to get a good fire before your opponent gets a good fire off, or something along those lines. It's a lot more weird if both players start on the same side, because then you've got kind of a race, and it might be possible to get ahead on all your shots by skipping. And then the other guy has the option to kind of skip a fire to get ahead on all his shots, and it just turns out really, really whacked. And the French got some trouble. Fired here, didn't get anything, but these Dutch firing at me caused a hit. The morale check was a nasty 6. Now his morale, he's taken 2 hits. His morale was a 3 in line formation. That puts him down to a 1. That means I exceeded this by his morale by 4 more, which means he's not disordered, he's routed. Now remember, routed units count against that track. I'm just not accounting for that yet. At some point in the battle, I may keep a separate count of routed units. I just feel like if I'm like strength points, not just units. I feel like if I'm tracking them on the main thing, there's going to be way too much capability for error, and I'm going to fuck things up worse than I will just trying to keep track of the losses on those tracks. Speaking of which, I don't think I marked this. It should always be the first thing I do. It should always be the first thing I do. But yeah, he's going to route through something, and that's going to cause further issues and all kind of ugliness. See, the whole French attack is sort of being disrupted by this fire in a way that is kind of impressive. This is how not to attack. Oops. I moved this to indicate the next unit that's going to fire, and I worked my way through. And now this is going to diminish. This is the whole thing. The firepower gets reduced. The quality of the fire gets reduced because of the disordered units and everything. So whichever side you start on, the other side is going to be weaker. Right? It's a very, very weird sort of situation that just doesn't feel accurate to me. This whole reciprocal fire feels really fucked up, but I don't know what's better, right? Like, I know what would be better if you fire and it's all simultaneous and all results are played at the same time. For a game this big, I can't even imagine how that would really work. That would be painful, but you could do it in little snippets, whatever. The more common I-go-you-go structure, where one side fires, say, defensive fire first, you can make an argument for that, but I don't know how good an argument it is in volley fire period. I honestly just don't know how well it works, even in, like, when you get to the American Civil War and everything, where rifles are more, where the rifle muskets become really, really vital. It makes a little bit more sense there, I think. But yeah, here, it is definitely. I've seen it in play in the CWB, the NBS stuff, and it kind of slows the attack too much. Again, the fire should be damn near simultaneous, and this is an attempt to represent that, but it's a weird sort of attempt that gives one flank an advantage over the other, or creates weird gamey situations where not as much fire is happening as you would expect. And you can probably come up with a hand-wavy explanation for why that works, but it's not something I like. Result of a 6 on one of these, that's going to cause something nasty, which is that this just goes away. And that'll be one of these. And I think because these are now formed formations, they have to make morale checks. I would look it up if they did not, or if they failed their morale checks, just to make sure that, I need to do that. The problem is, of course, now that I've rolled, I've kind of made that part of my operational stance, which means next time I may not remember that I don't know whether or not they have to make morale checks. I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do. I think it's only formed units that don't have to make morale checks for skirmishers being shot up. Because of the ordering and whatnot, this unit fired at this. This one doesn't get a shot at that. This one got a shot. He missed. But I think I'm out of fires at this point. Whereas had I done things a little differently, maybe shot at this one first, I could have gotten rid of that. Then I'd still have a shot at this. Of course, maybe it would have run. Who knows? But, yeah. The simple fact of the order that you do your shots. Now, that tends to be the case anyway. You tend to have the possibility... no. Most of the games require that you consolidate fire on one unit. You can't multi-fire at the same unit. This one allows you to take multiple shots at the same unit. You still have a fair amount of couple of skirmishers to fire. Remember, facing matters, but not for skirmishers. They have all around. So this guy is going to get to fire it here as well. In fact, I probably want to fire at this unit just to prevent that kind of situation where I'm denied a shot. Put me to the Allied command phase. I'm out of tea, fatigued, almost out of battery, so this is a good time for me to pause. I am seeing, though, in this particular scenario, as opposed to Ney versus Wellington, without, somebody said there were significant changes in the skirmisher rules. There's a few, but I don't feel like they're what's doing it. I feel like the big difference is the tactical situation. This defensive terrain being this good. Obviously, look, if I broke down into skirmishers in the woods, that would be cool too. But also, Ney versus Wellington doesn't let you just dissolve most units into skirmishers. Neither does this. But in Ney versus Wellington, only the light units can break completely down. I'm kind of following that. And I got some lights here that are good quality units. I hate to lose good quality units, but I think I'm going to need to create skirmishers to bust my way through. We'll see. Attacking is expensive, though, in this system. It's expensive when you're facing artillery. It's expensive when you're facing skirmishers in nasty terrain. It's just, and it doesn't seem like there's much in the system that would make it that expensive. On the other hand, extended lines are a pain in the ass. So the Allies suffered very badly in Ney versus Wellington because the need to form extended lines. Well, there's some options against them in this one. All right, pause time. Myself very confused because I started recording on this camera here, which apparently it has a chip in it or something, but I have to reset date time, and it acts a little differently, which is good because I could tell that I wasn't in the right place. Anyhow, we're in the Allied command phase. Now, I have to remember, this is when Cav gets to make its charges. I'm not in any position to do so right now. But I want to look over what I want to do. I don't think that there's anything I want to activate. I was moving the Duke of Orange thinking he would activate something, but these are first corps things, and I don't know, I could activate the 531 and get that moving up there as well. That would be a possible. I'm probably going to deactivate a number of units, simply because I don't see the French as being able to do much over here. They don't have any commanders over there. This might cause me problems later on, but I'm trying to reserve as much morale as I can. I can't deactivate these guys. They're within 8 of the enemy. But everything back here, there's a few units that I think I've got in command, certainly like this, that are in command that I just don't see paying for, although I will have to pay this round. But I look at the commanders that I have on the field. It took me a while to find Wellington. Yeah, I could do something with something like this, or these Cav back here might be useful, but I feel like I need to swing over and work on the R's here, get them on the line, not all the way at the front, but up on this ridge line to replace units that I'm committing over here at Hougoumont, which is sort of a motley crew. We got some first corps. We also have Mitchell's second corps unit, which starts the game for some reason activated, even though Hill's not on the board. In order for me to get Hill on the board, I have to move Wellington somewhere over here and get one of these second corps units in command. And again, there's no rules that put Hill on the board, right? So I have to make this up, which is fine. You know, I'm having to make up my my line of sight rules because there's one case that really disturbs me. Everything else, I actually think their line of sight rules aren't any better than the CWB rules, except for on the continual downslope situation. But because there's no high points marked. So if I'm looking at something like between here and here, obviously the descending slope issue gets in my way in something that small. But if I'm looking at something this broad, I could be here or here or something, not be on a descending slope, but not necessarily be at the point where I could continually see downward, right? I feel like this system penalizes, is looking at the slopes as a little too steep for my taste, the slope differentials. The layer cake is getting a little too layer cakey for the type of terrain that it probably was at Waterloo. It's hard to tell because they totally demolished the grounds, unlike things like Gettysburg. But it seems likely that these were mainly not really intensive ridges or anything. Anyway, and also the movement point cost, it's all this mild slope type feeling. So it's not something, anyway. No line of sight is going to be perfect. And I find the CWB mechanism easier to see. Anyway, that's not what we're dealing with. I'm trying to figure out what I want to commit, what I don't. I think I am going to commit. What is this? The 5-3-1. I'm going to probably swing it over this way, actually, because that's where I feel weaker. I feel like I have too many units here. I think I'm going to bring the units of the first corps over this way. So where do we have them? That'll be these. That's going to cost me 1 extra, but I think that's the only unit I'm putting in command. So we increase the number of allied units here. That's going to cost me 8 morale for the turn, which doesn't look pretty, but you know, I hate losing morale continuously. But then, after I place these, and this will give me someone to play with. Let's see. So his range kind of doesn't matter. He can only command units he's stacked with, which it's going to confuse the hell out of me. I tell you, the command rules for this are difficult to get used to. After I do that, I'm going to decommission a few units. So as an example, I would love to take these out, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, not going to happen. But for example, these guys are going to come off. Now, I don't think I'm supposed to actually remove these leaders, but I don't know how I mark that a unit's decommissioned if I don't remove the leaders. There's not, again, nothing indicates that you remove the leaders, and it only seems to indicate that you put them on when they first go on. I would have to use all kind of other markers to accomplish what I'd want to do. But I am allowed to decommission these, or, you know, deactivate them, I guess, is the better word. Similarly, do I want more line here? Not really. So I'll take that off. I can do this without it costing me anything. Uxbridge is here. He's the Cav R. He starts the game on the board for some reason, even though other corps commanders don't. That gives me a lot of nice flexibility. I'm going to leave them active. But I look for, what else would I possibly want to pull off? I know I want to get those two off, but I don't think there's anything else that I want to. That's an artillery. I get confused between the leaders and the artillery because they look different from the infantry, but yeah, and that means now that I've already paid, I can drop this cost down to 6, and I'll put these guys back in the tray where they belong, and deal with them. And then the next thing we do is Allied Rally. The Allies have their ammo issue. I think this gets taken place in Rally. I'm going to look that up. I think I can get, in fact, I know I can get ammo. Oh no, these weren't infantry units anymore. These are all militia, or skirmishers. Ooh, ooh. We'll see whether or not I can get ammo through to them. It's 5 hexes to an unsupplied skirmish, from the unsupplied skirmish formation to a real unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to work. Oh, I have some disorders too. How'd that happen? Artillery fire. That will recover as well. As long as it's not in minimum range fire zone. I have to work real hard to remember all the little special cases. That actually happened during the command phase. The disorder, of course, came off, and I got some disorders there that got to come off. With the bigger battle, it feels even more painful to deal with this. Hey, the Allies do their commanded rally, then the French get to move. I don't know what order I want it to be in. It just, the interleaving in this system works, and I wouldn't want to tinker with it, but it's painful to deal with. It really is. I don't know. I like this reminds me of the CWB stuff by the gamers, and I don't know. I feel comfortable with the sort of layer cake type levels and the colorations and everything. I just don't feel that disturbed by it. I know some people are kind of upset about how yellow it all is. Well, I don't know. It probably reminds them of what was it, the Victory Games. I can't remember what it was. Omaha Beach Head or something like that. Omaha Beach, I don't know. The one on that's really, really garish colors, and of course the gamer stuff as well. But I find that it doesn't disturb me after a little while. It's a really easy way to give the information. Not as specific, not as cool as it might be. And yeah, I'm probably just trying to delay because I know I have to hunt through all my French. And now I get to move my French, but I get to break down into militia or skirmishers first, which is of some value. And breaking into skirmishers does not cause opportunity fire, which is a big deal. Through my movement, I found I had not allocated this leader. I don't know if I screwed up. I don't know where I screwed up, but I moved his units. So I'm going to increase the number of French units and decrease the morale. This should have happened before. It may have been that I couldn't have moved these guys, but I don't know. And I'm going to commit him with his guys because the 292, and that may not be the right hex, it moved forward with other units, and I'm not honestly certain that I couldn't have placed him. I'm going to pretend that I could have before. I'm definitely having difficulty trying to keep things in line and whatever. Some of it is, look, the designations, my poor old eyes are having trouble dealing with the tiny little numbers and whatnot. But in this case, I think I just started moving units I couldn't move. I've already gotten to the point where you can see there's my skirmisher line moving up. I'm going to try dense skirmishers to see if I can blow a hole through their much smaller line. We may just end up so I had a bunch of lights up in front, which is why there's so many skirmishers up there. The lights have a 5 effectiveness, which means I can break them down entirely. I may need to break down the Allied units entirely to defend this because we're just upping the ante on how many skirmishers to throw at it. Given that I've got commanders on all this stuff, that I just neglected to put a commander down. So this is all fine. Now these move forward. But the command and control for this game is more painful than for anything else. First of all, for any other games that I can think of that had them, you basically have to pack the units as densely as you possibly can, which in a sense is accurate. If you think about like the linear combat games and whatnot, you had to keep your units tied together. But the thing is, you had this kind of cheat, which was, yeah, if you've got a unit in command, you're fine. You could be at the end of the formation. The rest of the line will work with you, right? Here you've got to have every fucking unit in command, which means you have to kind of position yourself right in the midst of your line. I like the concession in other games where it's like, yeah, if you're adjacent to another unit that's in command of your formation, you're in command. I think that's a better choice than what this is using. This is just too painful. That's the extent of my movement. I've got some cav leaders trying to rally routed units. They can do that. They're the same nationality, so it's allowed. Got like Kellerman back here, so he can try to bring this into command. Is it all one unit? I don't know. Yeah, it's 2 different units. I don't know if I want to yet, but I want to hold him in reserve so that, I can consider bringing the cav, because I don't know how valuable the cav's going to be. I thought I had some lights, but they were actually 2nd Corps, and it looked like LT to me. Tried to position them so that they could break down, and then I'm like, wait, they can't. So I'm using them, bringing a couple of, I don't know, divisional. I don't know what my designations are. I can't remember. I'm like, okay, 2nd Corps, 9th Division. I guess the brigade is in multiple units. Yeah, they're demi-brigades or whatever, moving into place. And I wish I had more skirmishers. I kind of don't want to give up strength points off decent units to create the skirmishers, but maybe it's of more importance than not. And this is pretty much the line of what's in command. We got Napoleon over here with 6th Corps, but we also have Ney near it as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know which, either one can activate it. But I want to get a more across the board attack. Now, I think ideally I want to put Ney over on this flank, because only Napoleon can activate the guards, and I want to have the guards available for whatever. But I kind of feel, I don't know, I feel it's such a loss trying to make this attack. Luckily for me, there isn't much that the Allies can do back. They could shock attack back. Skirmishers shock attacking other skirmishers can work, but I'd be giving up my good terrain. Don't want to do that. So we can avoid that. And that means it's time to push another game turn and get a little closer to the Prussians coming in. They're coming in so soon. What the hell, man? That's not the whole of them, but I definitely have to get somebody over there to deal with them. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a shit ton of trouble. Anyway, that is it for now. I'm going to swap batteries, and I think I'm going to load this up, even though I've only done a couple of turns. Scenarios 1 and 4, yeah. we've seen most of the mechanisms in play. We haven't seen a cav charge happen. And most of what I want to do for the rest of it is really just sort of the narrative more than, you know, a lot of detail on the firing and everything. I might do a cav charge, probably should, even though I did them in Ney versus Wellington, and they're pretty much the same here. I might do one if we see one sometime. Oh, what am I, like, you know, I look around and I'm like, wait a minute, is this moving? Yeah, I don't think that's active. That's not going anywhere. That's second corps cav. Who's gonna order them to do anything? I don't know. There's second corps somewhere. It's over here. Not exactly in the best place. It's the way the units are kind of intermingled is not conducive to being able to see this. And also, there's no real distinguishment except for the unit IDs. There's no color bands or anything like that, like more modern games tend to have. That can get really confusing, but on the other hand, all the same is really, really impossible to see.